Alright guys, alright, welcome to the first review stream that I will be doing of Lightseekers. Shall we get into this quick? Oh, alright. So I want to go ahead and first and foremost say, this was kind of a spur of the moment thing. Lightseekers still hasn't put out Kindred yet. I know we're all waiting, but let's try and think of the bright side where it gives us time to still look at the cards, still focus on mental deck building and all that fun stuff that we really want to do once the app drops. Gives us time to, shard our extra digital cards that we finally have, since it's going to take a while to get through that process. Figure out which cards we think will do well before we, spend them on game cards. And while we're waiting, I figured, literally I thought, not even 2 hours today, I was like, some people have done a review stream of these cards. Why not get my own review stream going? It's a lot of fun doing this, just literally talking about the cards with you guys, talking about the community and all this stuff about, man, what do we want to do with these cards? And I will give a full disclosure right now. I will hopefully be doing a whole series of these if you like. I know other people have as well. I know Dr. Attilis, I don't know how you pronounce his last name, or how he's pronouncing it now, because he's a doctor and can do that, because, filling on lab coat and everything. I totally approve. But he has done his own review streams, and I highly recommend you check him out. Like I said, full disclosure, I have not watched them yet, because when I wanted to do my review streams, like I knew I wanted to do in the future, I want to have a full blank slate. I don't want to have anyone else's opinions on my mind. I don't want to say, no, he was right on this, I'll go with his opinion. This is my full opinion on these cards, without anyone's feedback or looking into too much of what other people are thinking, so that I can give a 100% unbiased opinion, not influenced by anyone else. In saying that, reviewing these cards as a whole, it could take me like hours on end about a single card, because there's so much happening in this set and I love it. Kindred has introduced the family mechanic. It's like all of this stuff that is now changing the game in such a dramatic and huge way that it's going to, in my opinion, be stepping largely away from the normal game of what we saw at the US Nationals, UK Nationals, all this stuff, with the new ban list and all that stuff as well. So when I'm reviewing these cards just as the hero powers, I won't be trying to delve too much into like, okay, this hero has this hero ability and is alignment for this. But I think it's going to be really good if you add this weapon into it to dive into all these other stuff, because of how this game works and adding in weapons for new alignments and new elements, the hero could have a range between being really bad on its own for a lone color, but being incredibly well if you add in like 2 or 3 different colors. Like, there's so many mix and match up ways for this game to work, which is why I love it so much, is because there's so much diversity and so many different decks to build around with all these colors and just mix and match and see what works. There's no real like right or wrong answer with this stuff. So what I want to do when I'm reviewing these cards, I want to talk about the heroes in their solid alignment, based on their hero power alone, or their ability if they have one, their superiorities and their health and stuff like that. I don't want to dive too much into, like, unless it literally has, hey, this ability has to do with weapons, then I'll start talking about weapons. But otherwise, I just want to talk about the hero as a whole, what its ability does, and what it can do for its own core set, and how I think that this one will rate in its own core set. Obviously, people have been playing Triano, and Triano is just a solid good card in nature. But a lot of people have been adding Dread into nature to make it a really, like, an even better one, since you're using a lot of abilities for tick damage. People have been adding in tech into Astral to make it really good. So that's why I'm saying, like, I just want to review these heroes as a whole, as what they are as a card, and how I think they'll affect the game in their own way, without diving too much into saying, oh, well, this one has aspects that can lead into such and such other colors or alignments. So, because if I did that, like, I could talk about one card for 2 to 3 hours, and then this stream will go on for 24 hours, and I'm sure you guys would love to hear me talk for 24 hours, but I do have things to do, and I do apologize. Me and my friends are still working on uploading our YouTube page, so as soon as I get this stream going, what our future intent is for us to do our own kind of review stream, and then eventually, if people like these enough and they give us enough feedback and whatnot, we want to do a collaborate stream where all 3 of us talk about certain cards as a whole, talk about, just really get our own diverse banter back and forth, rather than just me talking to you. And I'm hoping that you guys will also approve of that. So once we get our YouTube channel up, like I said, it's still in the progress, still in works. We're very busy right now in Middleton, Wisconsin, where we live. There's been like just rainstorms after rainstorms. So the weather has been bad. Our power went out again last night for 2 hours. I had to move my car because my street was flooding again. I just got my new car. That would have been my 3rd car that just wrecked in like 3 months. Horrible right now. So give us a little time. We'll work on it. But I hope you guys approve of what I'm doing with this stream today. Sorry, there probably isn't going to be any gameplay. I'm going to try and do one night a week, probably Wednesday nights for gameplay, a few hours, and then on Saturday or Sunday, depending on my work schedule, come on here and talk about the cards as Kindred comes out as a whole set. Completely unbiased, so if you want to check out Dr. Attilas' stream, if you want to check out anyone else's stream that's doing reviews, I highly recommend it. I will probably end up watching them as soon as I'm done with my own, so that once I share my opinions, I can then listen to other people's opinions and bounce back ideas. But right now, like I said, completely unbiased, completely my opinion on these cards, and I don't want to dive too much into it, so I will be giving these a 1 through 5 star rating, just to kind of let you know, like, how are you going to rate these? Just good or bad? That's very generic. I want to try and give at least a little broadness of which ones, at least I think, that we should look out for in the upcoming meta of how these cards are going to evolve. So, thank you very much for listening to my disclosure. As people jump into this stream, I hope they, other people who have been watching from the beginning, or even if I say it, I'll say, there's a disclosure at the beginning. Takes a good 5-10 minutes to listen to. I hope you guys understand. When I post this as a full video, you can go back and watch it. You'll understand where I'm kind of coming from here. So, Today we're going to be talking about the Lightseeker's new heroes, just the heroes. We'll be going through all the order and all alignment heroes. We'll end with the 9 mythical ones that came out because, they're mythical. They're the fun ones to play with. They're the cross-order hybrid cards that I love cross-order cards. So those ones I want to save for last and talk about. We will be going through these in alphabetical order for the most part, starting with Astral, then going to Dread, then Mountain, Nature, Storm, and Tech. So if you're waiting for some of those, just letting you know those are the order we're coming in, along with the alphabetical order of the cards. So it's not like uncommon, common, rare. We're just going right down the line talking about them, okay? So, without further ado, let's go to the first one. If I can get this all set up. Abominuk. Now, this guy, as soon as I saw him, I was just, super pleased with it. With all of these new cards coming out, I thought, 31 health stat line. It's a good stat line. Very good. Lunar is one of the strongest ones, in my opinion, most diverse in the Astral alignment, to really have a lot of diversity to it. Lunar has always been with Dusk Feeder, if you have Solar on top, it increases by this value. If it's Gravity on top, it might do something else. It's a lot of the card draw. I know Gravity has a lot of card draw too, but there's some cards in Lunar that are also card draw, especially with some new cards coming out. Like I said, I'm not going to dive too much into the new set. I'm just going to go with the heroes right now, so bear with me on my whole trying to not dive too much into this because I know I can ramble. I love to ramble. I know you love hearing me, but let's dive into this. It's hero ability. Store a discarded solar action card under your hero every time you heal for 1 or more. When 5 cards are stored, move them to your deck. You cannot wield items. So this card alone right now tells me he's going to be a very, very restricted hero to play because obviously you can't wield items, so he has to be in the Lunar alignment. Or not Lunar, in the Astral alignment. Now, when you heal, you store solar cards. He's not obviously solar alignment. But I feel like if you're playing 1 solar card a turn, solar is where you get your big damage from. Solar, like combos like Solar Wind. It does say flow action cards, but right now I'm just kind of going with the generic. Right? It has, what's the card? Chimchu Infiltrator, or the 5 damage one. There's so many new Chimchu cards out, it's going to be amazing. But there's all the damage. There's Moon Beast, which is solar. There is the Astral Priest, which I believe is solar and can deal an additional damage if Lunar's on top. I think it deals up to 6. So there's a lot of just heavy impacting damage cards that Solar has. So like this card to me doesn't tell me it's going to be an extreme aggro deck. It's going to be one of those mid-range to tempo decks where you're going to see consistent damage come out of the card, and then as it goes in the late game has a bunch of ability to get the cards back and just keep pumping out damage, where other decks lately have been, you use your 35 cards in your deck, use them as functionally as possible, especially now that they've reworked the tool of storing cards, where they can't be returned to the hand, and they've added a lot of burn cards. They've reworked a lot of the rules, so I think that this is going to change it a lot. By storing stuff under your hero, you can't return your hero, obviously. It's going to stay on the board, so those cards can't just be removed with simple return buffs or remove buffs. So it continues to say, when you heal for 1 or more, when 5 cards are stored, move them to your deck. So in Astral, I'm trying to think right now, without looking too much into Kindred, it doesn't have a whole lot of like ticking heal, and obviously it has to stick in the Astral alignment. But I do believe, come Kindred, there are going to be a lot of cards that will have rotating buffs that heal for 3, heal for 2, heal for 1. There's a lot of new Chimchu cards out there that's like, hey, deal 2 damage, heal for 2, deal 1, draw a card. Like there's a bunch of cards out there that's going to heal for small micro amounts, which, like I said, is going to lead more into that tempo base, the small like left jab, right jab, all that fun stuff that you're doing to get continuous damage out instead of rather bursty damage. And especially if this is like, hey, you know, I'm going to go ahead and Chimchu. Oh god, I really want to look this card up because I'm gonna lose my mind if I cannot think of the Chimchu card that just 5 damage. Chimchu Militant. If you lay Chimchu Militant, deal 5 damage. Lay Dusk Feeder. You know, heal for 3, whatever you do. But you healed for 1. So you store that solar card under your card. Under your card. The little tongue tied right now. Sorry, bear with me. So if you're doing that and you're continuously, like, you know, dealing damage, healing for just a little bit, it kind of makes me think that you don't want to run too much damage prevention because you do want to heal. You want to be able to utilize that hero's ability to heal. So you want to take damage while you're doing this. You want your life pool to not be ever stuck at 35. And all this other crazy stuff. So, like, well, you don't want to really run the Yokona Oracle, which will prevent damage, stuff like that. You don't really want to run some of the new Aligned cards that prevent attack damage and all that stuff. You want to take damage so you can heal and use your ability. And with this, I just think it's going to be incredibly powerful in one of those just continuous damage decks. So I'm going to go ahead and state my rating right now. I'm going to say this is a 4-star hero. I don't want to say 5-star because I don't know, like I said, I don't know what the meta is. I don't know how strong it is right now. Comparing it to the last meta, there were a lot of decks, I think really only Trianu and maybe some of like the hyper aggression tech decks were really just either major pushing damage or just consistently taking damage where you can utilize those big heals. A lot of the other decks I saw out there, D Malone, what's up, man? I'm glad you can make it. A lot of the other decks out there were just like, I'm going to hit you for 16 in a turn. I'm going to hit you for like 20 in a turn. Just major hits. So they don't care if your health is that high, which means you won't be able to take a lot of the ticking damage. So I didn't want to rank this as like a 5-star card. But then again, I don't know what the new meta is going to do. I've played a little bit of the games with it. I've played a little bit of fun stuff with my friends, just trying to deck test, do some other stuff. And where we've all been leading is a lot of these cards are going to be just perpetual damage. So having this be perpetual damage with perpetual healing cards from it, storing those cards under them, putting them back in your deck for getting more damage out, I think is going to be a really fun deck, even though it's restricted to no items. And obviously, I mean, there's stuff in there that say, hey, you know, you can't, like all your cards in your deck have burn, like that kind of stuff. They're going to make it so that you can't really change your library or do anything like that. But the fun thing about this is also, when you're storing your solar cards, with Astral, as we all know, Astral is a great alignment to deal with the top card of your deck. So if like, yeah, it just says store a discarded solar card, not the top. So if there's like a card right on the top that you want solar, you can take one of the bottom ones that you've laid before, store that under there. However, you can also take the top one, change that top card from a solar to, say, a lunar, and get a benefit from your Pathfinder, and get 2 buffs that way, like when you can heal, or do something, just something ridiculous when you heal from a buff, or something like that. It's like, hey, when you deal damage, you also heal, which I think is going to be a lot of other Astral cards coming out in Kindred. So that's my run on Obamanuk. I love your feedback. Obviously, it only has one alignment with Lunar, which kind of makes me want to think that I really hope that Lunar comes out with some pretty serious good damage as well, or, you know, damage prevention, like little small ones, so that you can do double Lunar in a turn. Usually with Astral, it's not that good or not that prominent because you want to be able to lay, you know, Solar, then Lunar, then Gravity, do all this crazy working off combination cards like that so that you can get the benefits from the top of your graveyard, which is what Astral is really good at. So I don't think I really want to look too much at the superiority of the hero as much as what its ability does for Astral alone. So 4-star Abominuk, I think he's going to see some really fun play, a really fun deck to be around. I cannot wait to play with this card. I pulled one in one of my boxes. I'm starting to build a deck around. I'm trying to figure out what works. Obviously, he's not one of the, hey, you know, specifically go family-oriented. So you don't know if you want to go Beast, you don't want to know if you go Chimchu, or just build a solid Astral deck with him, which is why I'm kind of putting him up there, because he's limited with no weapons, but he's not limited with family, which means there's a lot of broad spectrum you can do with Astral. So I really hope this guy, like I said, in my opinion, is going to be one of the Astral cards to look out for. Next one we have here, come on, is Battlemaster Talon. Battlemaster Talon starts with 29 health, so in my opinion, anything below 30 means he's going to have like a really good ability, really powerful something to do. His ability, deal 1 damage to your target every time one of your Chimchu buffs expires. He has superiority with Gravity. Now, Gravity, in my opinion, is one of the best ones to have superiority with, like outside of Lunar. Solar is not one that you really want a bunch of superiority with, because solar cards don't work back to back with other solar cards. They usually synergize with lunar or gravity, and I think gravity is fine because all the gravity cards are just solid cards to lay. A lot of the gravity buffs are just solid buffs to lay. Like I said, I haven't done a whole lot of into the Chimchu buffs, but I have kind of skimmed through the starter deck, and there are some really insane synergies that Chimchu cards can deal with. Like there's a buff that's like, hey, whenever you lay a Chimchu card, or whenever a Chimchu card deals attack, you draw a card. So having like a lot of these really powerful Chimchu cards in your deck, just working off one another. When they expire, deal 1 damage. There's cards like, hey, when you deal a damage, do a certain action if it was from a certain thing. So I'm really excited about this. I think Battlemaster Talent is going to be a very fun deck to build around Chimchus. I do think the Chimchu family is almost really strongly restricted to Astral. I know there's some in the Dread that came out. I haven't done a whole lot of looking. I'm not sure if it's really anywhere else, which is like surprising because when you look at the elements and when you look at the beasts, they're kind of spread out everywhere. When you look at the insects are mainly nature, but I mean, like, you have a lot of crossover with your families now, which is amazing. But I do think Chimchu is very strongly an Astral alignment. So I don't think, unless you're going to equip a weapon in this guy, you're going to use maybe the weapon for the ability. You're going to use it for some other like side family stuff, like locations or maybe even beasts. You're going to do something like that with it. But I mean, there's so many good Chimchu cards out right now. People have been consistently talking about building strong Chimchu decks. People even voted it as like the number 1 top family right under location, which is very strange to me because I didn't think location, at least I haven't looked into that much, was going to be super top. Like, I'm sitting in location, goes, okay, your damage increasing ones, your mountain forts, your all this other stuff. In the newer cards, obviously, I won't get into the names because I don't know the names that well, and I do apologize because I should be, focusing 100% learning these names. But it's difficult. There's a lot of new awesome cards out there that once you watch them, once you learn them in action, you're like, oh, I know exactly what that card is. I know it because I've lost to it 17 million times on ladder, and you flip your computer desk, and then you have to pull out your phone and play Lightseekers, and it's just, it's amazing. But I think this guy I want to rate as a 3-star. Where he's right around the middle of the pack. I don't think he's going to make a major improvement on Astral. I just think he's going to be a very fun Astral hero to build a solid family foundation deck around. So I want to give him a 3-star because I want to put him right in the middle. I don't think he's going to be bad in any way, shape, or form. I don't think he's going to be a 2 or 1 or like where you're never going to see him. I want to say he's going to be right in the pack, and he'll only go up depending on how strong these Chimchu cards come out. And in the future, with more family cards coming out, with more of this Chimchu stuff coming out, I think he's going to explode. Because as far as I'm aware right now, a lot of the Chimchu cards don't really come from the buffs. I mean, there's some Chimchu supporting buffs, but a lot of the Chimchu cards that I've seen or looked at are more, defend or attack cards that are just going to be played from hand. So it's like the minuscule 1 poke damage when a Chimchu buff expires. It's still good. It's still chip damage, and chip damage is going to be universally good no matter who you are. Getting 1 extra damage through, poking those clunky corner buffs that take damage. Anything chip damage is good no matter what. But in a lot of case scenarios, obviously, you need to do more than just 1 damage a turn. So I think he's right in the middle. He's a solid card, a solid hero for a solid alignment. Yeah, that's my opinion. Next one we have Blaze Brute Zoc. Blaze Brute Zoc. All right, 32 health. So far, so good. I really like those high health cards. Means they don't have to have that capabilities, but the starting is just a solid foundation so that you don't die really quick to aggro, which in the game right now, aggro is very aggressive. It's very hard to defend against, especially when decks come like turn 2, put you at 10 health, and you're like, what just happened? How did that, what? I'm like dead in 2 turns if I don't have a healing. So he's superior in Solar. Like I said, I think Solar, in my opinion, unless you're playing a buff-heavy deck, is not the best alignment to be superior for because they don't really work off one another. You don't want to do Solar. You want to do Solar Lunar. You don't want to do Solar Gravity and all this other stuff so that they can utilize the top card of the graveyard. So in my opinion, Solar out of the 3 for superiority doesn't matter too much, but then again in Astral it doesn't really matter unless you're playing a Corvus deck where you want to be able to lay multiple stuff in a turn, in which case carry the superior weapons. That's how you solve that problem. His ability is carry 1 additional point of items. Now, I think that's the baseline new ability that all heroes are going to get throughout their whole, throughout all 6 alignments, is they're going to have 1 hero that can carry an additional point of items. Because, as we saw, I think it was, who's the tech hero last set that could carry an additional point of items? It was like Ixie or Zini or something like that. It was a very short tech name, and he could carry an additional point of items. And since they already made that one, and a lot of people tried to make stuff happen for it, and a lot of people did. I saw there was an amazing deck that, as a matter of Matt, played where he ran a tech hero, but all three of his items were the three storm alignments. So he played a storm deck with a tech hero, and I was just blown away. I was like, wait, what are you doing? And I even looked through the deck. I saw it. I'm like, oh, it's a storm deck. And I looked at the hero first, and I went through it. I'm like, oh, this is like a solid blue deck. And I looked at the hero, and I went, wait a second, this is tech. What? And actually, I think he went on Dr. Attilas' stream to talk about the new Storm Order because of that, and I cannot wait to hear that. I can't wait to see what, as a matter of Matt, talked about on that stream, because I think he's one of those very inventive deck creators that I really think does an amazing job at thinking way outside the box. Not too far, but pretty far outside the box, where I just enjoy watching his gameplay and watching him talk about cards and where all these ideas come from. And I try and bounce stuff off him too. And I want to be one of those persons that isn't really constricted to, like, hey, I have to play these 20 cards because these are so good, so these next 10 cards, that's where I can really differ from. I'm like, no, give me the whole 35 card pool. I want to go nuts. I want to see what works, what doesn't work. I want to experiment. I want to go crazy with these cards. And I think that this guy carrying an additional point of items is going to be really good in this set. Not just because the items from the last set were the ones with the toys came out. They were really good. But there are so many new good items in this new set. It's going to be ridiculous, especially all of them that have just really good abilities. Mind you, there's a lot of the new superior items that have 2 slots, so you can equip those along with another weapon. And the ones that are superior, they're harder to get rid of because the new neutral card says only if it has a non-superior element can you destroy it. So getting those 2 in there to have that superior element for the new alignment is amazing, especially when it comes to the great ability. And then you can also equip another item, or you can just equip 3 items and go ham. Have a 4-color deck, try and complete the rainbow. I cannot wait to see what comes out of these type of heroes. I'm going to put him, I'm going to say 3.5, right above the pack, because I really want to see what heroes or what players do with heroes that can equip so many items. Because, I mean, for all I know, people are going to put, like, 4 different items in here, and they can only equip 3, but they're going to put them in there for the diversity of, okay, this is the item I want to carry for abilities, but if I'm in a certain matchup or I need a certain color, put these in there. Have just all these crazy stuff for your deck that is just so much different things just because your items have really good either support abilities or attack and defend abilities for this game. And that's really what I'm hoping to see from this new set, along with the families, is just how awesome these items are, guys. I mean, they're so good. Every one of my decks that I built so far, unless it says I cannot have an item, I put like 2 or 3 items in there just because I have all of them, and I'm like, this is amazing. I want to see what I can do with just the ability, what I can do by adding an animal to a dread deck. Just go crazy. Start mixing stuff up. Start getting creative. These items being so good and so popular now, it should give a lot of potential to all these crazy deck players. And I think that like I said, this base ability across the line, I think any hero like this is going to get a 3.5 star rating from me just because of all the new unique items that they put out and can do with it. And I just think it's going to explode in the game, and you're going to see these guys, probably not at the top ladder, but you're definitely going to see this hero or the heroes with this ability, and you're going to like, okay, I need to take a step back. Unless your deck is complete aggro, you're going to almost like sit there for 2 turns and wait and go, okay, what am I in store for? Because I know it's like, okay, he's Astral, that's fine. I know what Astral can do, but there's 6 other orders, each with their own 3 alignments to them. He could pull out any number of tricks on me, and just like that threat of the unknown should make anyone that isn't playing extreme aggro or like extreme control, like a granite deck that just knows how its endgame is going to play out, is going to play it very cautiously. And I think just having that opponent in their own mindset of like, the unknown, I don't know what's going to happen here, is going to be really fun to play with, because it's going to change up a lot of play styles. Once you see the first weapon, you're like, okay, looks like he's more aggressive. Second weapon comes out, has a defendability where you start healing, and it's like, okay, maybe he's not. I don't know what's going on. And like it's a whole mind game set, which I really love about these heroes. So I think he's going to be 3.5. I don't think maybe he'll make it up to the gold ranking if you want to put him in that sense too. But just for the sense of he's going to be one of those heroes that's going to start off really fun in the set to get a lot of people being creative with this new set. And then after a while, like I said, once the meta happens, the meta's bound to happen, it's going to happen, I'm not avoiding that at all, you'll start to see a little drop in these heroes once you find out, this item is really good compared to these ones, so you're only going to run 1, which means abilities like this aren't going to matter that much. But I want to put them right at the 3.5 because right away when this drops, I want to try out these heroes, I want to put in a bunch of weapons and decks, and I want to see this game go just out the window. I'm going to put like 6 items in a deck, and I know you can only carry 3, but I'm going to put them in. I'm going to start switching them out. Have cards that can return cards to my deck. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Next here we have Dusk Guard Lucera. She has 30 health. Perfect. I love 30 health. It's the base start line. She is superior in Lunar. Awesome. I love Lunar's superiority. Ability: deal 2 damage to another hero if you have no buffs in play. Now, this to me almost screams aggro. Because when you're really playing a buff deck, unless it's like heavy hitting buffs like Mage Ship or like Celestian Warrior, stuff like that's just consistently dealing damage, you're not going to have too many buffs out in play. So having this kind of like deal 2 damage is going to be really good. In my opinion, it's nowhere near as good as Cassini. Cassini does not have a limitation where like, hey, you know, it's an ability, but you can still do it with Cassini. You can still discard a card. You're always going to have cards in your hand with Astral. There's never going to be a point where you're like, I have no cards in my hand. What am I going to do? This one, you have to have no buffs in play. But it's still that nice, like if you have no buffs in play, it's good chip damage. It's not going to waste a card. It's not going to make you discard a card. Not going to do anything. But you can just use an ability, 2 damage, make it, you know, ignore the first 2 damage in a turn. I've seen a lot of cards out there right now, like Pollen Weaver just got reworked. There is the I can't think of the names. There's a Mountain card that's once you're below 15 health, prevent the next 2 damage. There's Turtle Captain, prevents the next 2 damage. Like the first 2 damage in a turn. Using this ability just to get past that, if you really want to put, you know, a 6 damage card out, really just use that ability to not waste an attack card to get past those cards. So I almost want to put this one as, I want to say a 2-star rating. I want to say it's going to be not one of those cards that a lot of people are going to run, not one that a lot of people are going to jump right to build the deck around. It's not going to be seen a whole lot unless the meta changes where everyone is playing control, everyone's running the prevent the first 2 damage a turn, do all this other stuff, and it's still like, still an ability, you know, prevent the next 2 damage. So you use this, knock that aside at the same time, but it's like, okay, but then I just want to remove that buff because it's being super annoying. Using ability prevents me from drawing a card, prevents me from double laying cards in my turn. It's an ability that I think is better than the deal 1 damage a turn, in some sense. Dealing 1 damage without a restriction is still really good compared to 2 damage, but you have to have no buffs in play. So it's very situational. I don't think it's going to have that much of an impact on this game, unfortunately. So I want to put it down at the 2-star rating. Not necessarily 1-star where it's just like, it's so bad it's never going to see play. I mean, there's very rare cards that I'm going to put down at 1-star. I'll go ahead and say it right now. I think almost every card has their own spot in this game. Every card has great potential to be in this game. This hero, I think, is just, I'm going to put it down near the bottom, not necessarily at rock bottom, but it's going to be one that is not going to have a major impact on the game with its ability. It's very situational to do it. Using abilities to do minimal damage is one of those things that just, unless you're playing a more tempo-oriented game, is just, it uses up half of your turn to deal 2 damage. You could be doing so much else. You could be healing for 7, you could be dealing 5, you could be drawing cards, you could be doing anything other than just 2 damage. And I think that's where this one suffers a little bit. So 30 health, good start line. Lunar alignment, great, but we've already seen Abominuk. Abominuk, obviously you can't hold weapons, but he's already got better stats than that. We're going to see other heroes from the past sets in this sets where the same superior alignment stat line, same health stat line, but they'll actually have abilities that can do something in the game. So I don't think this one will be one of those that we're going to see a whole lot of, unfortunately. Sky Slayer Vandal. 30 health, good, I love it. Superior element in gravity. Like I said, the second one right out of Lunar is probably the best one to have. When you play a combo that requires gravity, you may rotate one of your buffs 2 steps forward. Now, I love these type of abilities where it's like if you, especially in more aggressive decks, more decks that like, hey, I want this stuff to just go as hard, as fast as possible before you have a chance to defend, before you have a chance to heal, just all this stuff. And having this where it's like, okay, I can rotate any one of my buffs 2 steps forward. That's amazing. That's insane. There's so many cards for gravity, or for, not gravity, but Astral in general. And even if you want to go outside of Astral, because you can equip items, there's so many buffs out there with 4 corners that's like, okay, I lay this buff, I lay another buff for, you know, we're going to rotate on 2 or whatever. Next turn, lay a combo buff that requires gravity. There's so many good gravity buffs out there. Or not gravity buffs, gravity combos out there. Mind you, it's only 5, so you only get this unless you have a way to get your combos back 5 times. But if you're playing hyper aggression or just any aggro with this type of style, you probably won't even need more than 3 of them. Because getting those heavy hitting buffs to rotate to their final corner the turn after you lay them, when you should be waiting 2 more turns, is going to be insane tempo, insane burst damage. I think Solar Wind is a solar gravity. So think about it this way: you can put down I think, what's it, Dawnstalker is XXX6, but if you have Lunar on the top, it'll deal 10. So you put that down one turn. Like I said, I'm not diving too much into the new Kindred set right now. I'm just basing off of what the old cards are, because Kindred, like I said, there's so much diversity. I put this disclosure in there. There's so much diversity in that game where Kindred comes out. All these cards are going to be insane. It's going to change the meta in a completely way. So I'm trying to go on just what is in the game right now, how it's going to affect it, and we're going to see crazy climbs in power, crazy spikes in power. Heroes going to change out. So like I said, I gave that disclosure in the beginning of the game. I just want to review it as I'm going with the cards. But yeah, put Dawnstalker out the turn before. XXX6, where it can increase to 10 if Lunar's on top. Then just lay a Lunar card. Just heal for a little bit. Doesn't matter. Then you lay Solar Wind. Solar Gravity. Okay, it's a buff right there. So it's not a buff. I keep saying buff when I want to say combo. You lay that combo. As you lay it, you get to rotate your buff before that combo goes in the graveyard. So it means your Lunar card you laid before is on top for that card to deal 10 damage. Then you can discard 2 more Solar cards to increase Solar Wind to 16. So right there, with those 2 cards, the combo and the buff alone, is 26 damage in one turn. That's ridiculous. And like I said, being able to rotate not one corner but 2 corners ahead with some of these buffs that are 4 corners, you're going to hit them with a ton of damage with very minimal cards. So I think with this ability and like cards like that, he's going to be up there. He might even be, dare I say, he's going to be like a 4.5 hero, maybe even a 5-star. And it depends on how defensive the meta is going to be, depends on how aggressive the meta is going to be. I think he's going to see just so much play with all of this with all these cards, especially with how many different actions you get in a turn by laying certain other cards. There is cards in there. It's like, hey, if you play a Chimchu card, get an additional action. So rotating one of your buffs to like 2 corners, have it go off. Next turn, Chimchu comes out. Just start doing all this other stuff, doing crazy stuff, even if it's just hyper aggression with beasts. I think there's a lot of beasts that can do some insane damage as well. I mean, and the thing is, when it rotates the buffs 2 corners, it doesn't skip those 2 corners. It doesn't skip like, oh, it just goes right to the final corner. So if there's a card like Celestian Warrior that's X3, X4, it's going to deal the 3. Obviously, this is a bad example because of 3, X, then 4. But I know there's cards out there, like, splash Dread into it. You get a Toad in there, a Toxic Frog. Lay Toxic Frog, whatever, it's X. Because it doesn't tell you what buffs you can rotate. It's just as long as your combo has gravity. So you rotate the Toxic Frog, 1 corner deals 3, 2 corners to it's going to be on the second corner. Rotate a third one, it's 8 damage along with that, plus the combo damage. Like there's a lot of just crazy buffs that when rotating them have so much cyclical damage that would be small micro damage in a turn. But because you can rotate them so quickly and still have their effects go off in one turn, that is insane amounts of spike damage, which a lot of people can't heal through or can't even defend through. So, like I said, I feel like this guy is going to be right up there at the top. You're going to see a lot of him. You're going to see a lot of hyper aggression. You're going to just start going crazy with damage bursts. And I think that him with a really good, not even family oriented, just a really good Astral deck that does damage is just going to be nuts. And I think I want to build. I'm not really that good at aggression, but the thing is, like, you can put him in a nice little tempo damage deck, and his ability will turn that tempo deck into an aggression deck. Because your buffs, you're not going to lay the super high heavy hitting buffs unless you like Dawnstalker. You're going to want to lay. You're going to want to lay buffs that deal micro damage like 2 or 3 on each corner. Because then when you lay that combo, you can do your major spike damage, having it rotate through, and it'll just start getting insane. Where you'll get them down to 15. Then you can deal 26 damage in a turn, even though they have damage prevention, and you're just gonna be like, what just happened? What? I was at like 20. Why am I dead? It's because of his ability, and I think that's a really good ability to have. And anything that can literally speed up your turns, or even just a card, is going to have a lot of impact on this game. And that's just my opinion. I hope you guys don't find me just talking out my butt, going like, what is he talking about? I don't care about speeding up. Dude, cards like Chrono Warper, cards like Fountain of Time have been staple in text. That's why I'm saying like abilities like this are going to be really, really valuable to find in heroes. I know a lot of the other heroes will have abilities like that, so I think that this is a very high staple card that will just start rolling. And especially in a deck that requires gravity, he's superior in gravity. Your deck's going to run a lot of gravity. You're never going to not have a combo that doesn't have gravity in it. You're going to start running the combos that are just 2 cost cards with gravity just to lay them super quick and get that burst damage out, and it's going to be nuts. Also, mind you, I just now reread this card. You may rotate one of your buffs 2 steps forwards. Buffs, not action buffs. You can lay Starstorm, you can lay Meteor Shower, rotate that thing twice after you lay another combo if you're getting a lot of card draw, which with gravity, a lot of card draw is going to happen. So you lay Meteor Shower, ticks for 7, ticks for 5, ticks for 4. That's what, 16 damage just for that one buff that you can rotate while laying another combo buff with Solar Wind. That's 32 damage in one turn if you max it out. Like, my mind is exploding right now because you can delve all these super colors into it. So think about that. Think about like not rotating your action buffs, but your combo buffs as well. Starstorm, I think, is the lunar gravity one. That's just like, 1-1-2-2 or 1-2-2, stuff like that. Little micro damage. But rotate that thing all the way around. That's like 6 damage in one turn. You can put Tsunami in there, have it deal 14 on the next turn. And Tsunami, like I said, is not one of my favorite buffs, but having it in this type of deck I think can be really, really fun. So that's my opinion on this card. We'll go to the next one because I want to keep going through this. I don't want to be sitting here for 6 hours as much as I would love to sit here for 6 hours with you guys because you guys are awesome. Let's go to the next card. Star Tamer Calic. Now I believe this one is the starter hero in the Astral starter deck for Kindred, which is awesome because having one of, in my opinion, the best heroes just come in the starter deck means that they're trying to give the community a better chance for early game players. Like, hey, you look at some of the U.S. national decks, Dolo, Trianu, were the starter deck heroes. They were used almost every single time in these decks. And heroes that weren't, mind you, like Tempest could be switched out for Zuna, which was the tech hero. So like, I really think that it's really good they're giving really strong heroes in the starter decks so that people don't feel like buying those decks are a waste of time, where you can amplify the deck, but your hero is still going to be incredibly valuable, which is why I already want to say this one's above a 4-star rating for me because he's a starter deck hero. Just based on the other ones, it's going to be really good. Gravity Superiority. One of the better ones, in my opinion, for Astral. 31 health, already above average. Starting off strong. He has an ability. Shuffle your hand back into your deck and draw that many cards. This can only be used once per game. Now, in any single card game that you play where you can mulligan at the beginning of the game, to like, you start off with a really bad hand. Like, oh man, I really want to mulligan. This is not the good hand for this matchup. I have a lot of dead cards in my hand. This is horrible. Having an ability just to, like, any time mulligan is going to be insane for cards. Because you're sitting here and you're in a very situational game. You're not, maybe you're playing hyper aggression with this card. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what kind of deck you're building. But just based on the hero, you're playing a game with Astral, which is continuously drawing you cards while you deal damage, which is really what Astral is really good with. And you start drawing a handful of like 6 cards, and you have 3 Icona Oracles, 3 Dusk Feeders in your hand, and you're sitting at 35 health, and you're like, well, this guy's not doing anything. I'll spend one more turn, use an ability, or do something to draw a card. Drew more defensive cards. Use this ability. Shuffle 6 cards back in your deck. Draw a hand of 6 new cards. Also, you draw those cards, which means cards like Fortress, was it Crystal Fortress, Diamond Fortress, something like that, where whenever you draw a defend card will tick. Like, having that ability for Astral to just draw 6 cards in one turn to activate all this stuff is going to be insane. Like, just based on previous decks, having an ability that makes you draw that many cards to activate this many abilities on the board when you draw them and reveal them and all this stuff. Put Icona Archaeologist in there to restart your buffs when you draw them. Like, this guy is going to be insane. I think he's already a 5-star card just for thinking about this from the old set. Not even looking into the new set of Kindred. Just his ability alone to mulligan is going to make him be a staple for Astral to play with for almost any deck. And the thing is, like, that's what I love about this, where his ability makes him so universally good that he could be run in almost any Astral deck and still have a major impact on the game. Like I said, there's ways to break his ability, like I said, with the Crystal Fortress and all this other stuff for when you draw cards, you don't just explode and do insane stuff. But just having an ability to mulligan your hand anytime you want, once per game, is nuts. It's broken. And I am loving that idea, especially with Astral, because Astral is one of those decks where it utilizes drawing cards so much better than almost any other set, where drawing them, revealing them, deal stuff with them, all this other stuff. I can't think of a whole lot of other sets like, hey, draw this card, reveal it to deal something with the board when it's drawn, or all this other stuff. So like, Astral having that ability already puts this guy at a 5-star level, and having him be the starter deck for Kindred hero makes me really happy that they did this, because having such an impactful hero to build so many decks around is really what I want them to do, so that, like I said, new players, while this game is still in its young stages, can buy the starter decks and still feel like they're on the same level with some of the people that are playing competitively right now, without spending too much money. And while they get into this, while they learn what other people are playing, focus on those cards, buy singles, buy more booster boxes, booster packs, do whatever you want. Just knowing that you have a solid foundation by spending $20 on this game is a really good way for new players to be like, I feel like I've actually invested, instead of buying something where you get hoard. Enough said. All right, on to the next hero. Swoop Rider Kari. Swoop Rider Kari. Lunar alignment, in my opinion, the best alignment for Astral, just because Lunar does a lot of fun stuff bouncing off it. You want to lay 2 Lunars, you want a Lunar buff and a Lunar healing go in your graveyard. A lot of really fun stuff with Lunar, and I think is a very diverse one to have the mastery in. 30 health, base stat line, perfect. Mwah, love it. Ability, draw 1 card face up. If it's a beast card, you may rotate one of your action buffs 1 step forward. Okay, I think as we're going through this, I want to say this is the last one for the Lunar set of heroes. Yeah, it is. This is the last one for the Lunar set of heroes, and I want to go already say, I've already given a 5-star rating to someone that literally draws you cards, someone that shuffles them all back in your deck. 5-star rating. I give a 4.5 rating to someone that rotates your buffs forward. This one, even though he's conditional with the beast cards, and like I said, beast crosses at least 3 alignments. So involving weapons into this guy is no problem. You want to do that. You want to get the beasts from Storm. You want to get the beasts from the nature alignments. You want to get all these really fun stuff to use with a beast deck. Because I played a beast deck. It's really fun. It's really intuitive. That I want to say that this card is a 5-star card. This guy draws you a card face up. Okay, face up. We've had cards do that before. We've had I can't think of her. She was draw 1 card face up. If it's Lunar, you heal for 1. So drawing cards face up, no biggie, no worries about it. I think Sun Hunter talked to you have to reveal the card that you draw anyway. No biggie. We're not worried about revealing cards in our hand. They're going to be played anyway. We're going in a very tempo deck. We're not holding stuff back to counter your stuff. So if you draw a beast card, rotate one of your action buffs 1 step forward. There's so many new good beast cards, even so many cards that are reprinted to be beasts. Think about it. I think what's the snail, the gravity snail, that is now a beast card. Draw that, okay, lay it. Draw another card to deal increased damage, like all this stuff. It's a beast card, so you get to rotate one of your buffs for it. It's a very, very good hero for, if obviously it's limited to its deck type because you want to build a beast deck around it. But the beasts, like I said, have crossed between so many different elements that there's so much diversity in it alone. Even though you're restricted to beasts, you are opened up to a bunch of different colors to make this guy work so good, and I'm so happy about that. And rotating your beast 1 step forward, I found that right now beasts aggression is really prominent, really wants you to start pushing for the board, pushing damage, make your opponent be on the defensive while you just keep drawing your cards, keep pushing that damage, even though it's like minimal, like 2 or 3 a turn with buffs, all this stuff to just keep dealing chip damage, but continuously enough while you draw those cards to just like go ham, go nuts on this guy. So I want to give this guy a 5-star rating because he does everything so well. Good health stat line, good superiority, good ability, great ability to draw a card. Drawing a card alone in any card game is going to be amazing. We all saw how Dolo turned out. Let's keep making everyone draw cards. So everyone loves card draw. And if you want more cards in your hand, it's what you want. You want more cards in your hand. And you draw if it's a beast. Like I said, so many new cards that are like buff, defend, attack. Items aren't alignment like that, but all those cards have now beast alignments on them. Or beast family oriented, so you can rotate your buffs forward. And like I said before, rotating your stuff forward, giving you more momentum than just waiting a turn for all this stuff to rotate, is going to be insane tempo. So that's why this guy 5 stars right now. So that I really want to see really strong cards for this deck. I want to see a lot of people playing Beast Lunar or Beast Astral, I guess. Because, I mean, there's going to be Blue Beast, there's going to be Green Beast, there's going to be Lunar Beast. So having one really strong Beast archetype within those 3 is going to be really great. And I cannot wait to see what people do with this, because I know for a fact, as soon as this stuff drops, I have like 15 to 25 million decks I want to play out, and it's going to be awesome. Delz01, thanks for the follow, man. I hope you guys are enjoying the stream. I hope you're enjoying my content here. That is really loud. Oh my. I'm going to just go ahead and turn that off. I forgot to switch to my headphones because I'm not wearing headphones because there's not a whole lot of background music. I'm just talking. I'm just loving my life. But like I said, this guy, I want to say is a 5-star card. This guy is going to have such an impact on the game that he's going to be one of the heroes to look out for. If not, he's one of the heroes that if you don't pull him in a box, people are going to spend like $5, $10 just to buy this hero, just to build a really fun beast deck with. Because I think beasts, in my opinion, I voted for beasts on the poll. I think beasts are going to be one of the top ones because beasts, there's just so much momentum and damage and potential there that I really think it's especially one of those. It's really straightforward to build for a lot of the early game, a lot of the early beginners of the cards that don't know about utilizing different card mechanics. I think Beast is very straightforward. Beast, deal damage, draw a card, make your deck go fast, me punch you in face with claws because me beast, rawr, you know, all that stuff. It's one of those that a lot of people are going to play, and they're going to find out it's going to steamroll a lot of the other ones that are just sitting back there, oh, hide behind my bubblefish. No, I'm just going to keep pounding you with damage. You can do whatever you want, but I'm going to heal with beast cards. I'm going to move your cards out with beast cards. You know, I believe Thunderslug is actually a beast card now. Who would have thought, right? You draw a Thunderslug, oh, it's a beast card, I'll rotate one of the buffs for it. Like Thunderslug. Bada bing, bada boom, your buff's gone. Like, it's going to have such an impact that the families alone, I believe, are actually going to have more impact than some of these heroes are. And guys, can I just say I cannot wait for Kindred to come out? Oh my god. All right, let's keep going. I think we're done with Astral. Time to go to Dread. All right, let's go to Dread. Same thing before. Disclosure 5 minutes before this thing, so we're not delving too much into this, but I hope you guys are having as much fun as I am, because I love talking cards. I love talking card mechanics. If you guys have any questions, obviously comment on, like, hey, why do you think about this card? Don't you think that this card is better than certain ones? Like, why do you rate these guys? Go ahead and ask them. I would love to give you feedback while I'm talking. I don't want to sit here like I'm looking at a camera while you guys are sitting back there with a bowl of popcorn. Oh, yeah, I agree. Yeah, okay. Okay, cool. I want to start talking with you guys. I want to get this community going. I want to make sure that everyone is having a fun time. I love my voice. You love my voice. If you want to mute me and just go, sure, I'll watch his mouth move while I'm reading these cards. Go for it. Do what you want to do. But, you know, all the love to all you guys. So, awesome. Thanks for stopping by. All right, on to Dread. On to Dread. Enough of me rambling. On to Dread. Can we get